All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra Porter, and I'll be introducing the topic of today's webinar. We're very excited to welcome Dan DeTora from Middlebury College, and he'll be speaking to Middlebury's reopening strategies, both campus-wide and in dining, as it relates to COVID-19. Some quick housekeeping notes before I introduce our host today. We have muted and turned off video for everyone upon entry. If any questions do come up that you'd like addressed during the length of the webinar, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A section. I'll be looking to that section and we will address as many questions as we can during the length of this webinar. Any that we don't get to, we'll answer via email after the webinar has completed. So to jump in here, we have our hosts for today. We have H. David Porter, the author and founder and president of Porter Strategic Advisors. We have Dan DeTora, who's the Executive Director of Dining at Middlebury College, and myself, Alexandra Porter, and I will be moderating today's session. So I'm going to hand it off to David, and he's going to start our webinar for today.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Dan, for doing this together with us. You have a tremendous program, and we're excited to share your strategies and your plans for the fall. Our company, Porter Strategic Advisors, we've really established it starting about 2 months ago to come up with and develop and present. We've actually already delivered this for a university in Maryland. COVID-19 college and university reopening strategic solutions, science-based mission-critical strategic components. And we kind of break this into parts. Everybody talks about a new normal, but we're really looking at the next 12 to 18 months. Hopefully, fingers crossed, as this period of time between now and when there's a vaccine or a therapy, and when we can really start getting back to something that was a little bit more resembles 4 or 5 months ago prior to that. In a lot of our work and our thinking about this and the talk and the conversations we've had with clients is boiled down to this one central question: will my son or daughter be safe? And returning to campus, and it's really evolved too, I think, in many discussions in the national discussion to mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa, because we've all heard about how younger people, it tends to affect younger people less severely, although that's not 100% of the time. Seems like even as much of a threat is also the chances of a young person bringing it home to loved ones and family members. And then, of course, the school is very concerned as well with an outbreak that could potentially shut down the institution, sending students home either mid-semester or mid-year. So there's a lot at stake, not only for the students and their families, but for the institutions themselves. Our company, we're a firm of campus and facility planners and strategic advisors. We're all known for our creative and efficient pursuit of success for our clients. We really developed this, again, I talked a little bit about this a minute ago, but in response, meeting the moment after doing campus planning for the past 30 years. We focused on dining, but we've been involved with housing, student centers, rec centers, even classroom and administration buildings, and the college experience. We wrote a book about this, and we really coined the phrase social architecture, that need to create environments that bring students together so they connect. There's a richer student experience. Now, we all know that's going to change and has changed dramatically for this COVID period of time. We have to implement these strategies. But I think it's clearly obvious that there's still a strong need to connect to one another. It's just going to have to be a little bit different for the next 12 to 18 months as we try to get through this crisis. Again, I mentioned campus planning. We've engaged higher ed in all 50 states, as well as most of the provinces of Canada. And I'm just going to click through before Dan talks about Mount Holyoke. These are some of the critical elements that we've shared with over the past 8 weeks in our webinars and with and for our clients. The need to develop an effective communications plan to parents and families so that they know what the school is doing to keep their sons and daughters safe when they return, and quite frankly, themselves safe when their son or daughter returns from a Thanksgiving break or in any of the holiday breaks or any travel to and from campus. We know the importance of surveillance testing and testing people before they've actually exhibited any symptoms of the virus so that we can nip this in the bud early, identify early, rapid tests to determine whether the person's positive or negative. contact trace, the importance of identifying individuals and places that this person has been, to identify others who can be tested to determine whether or not they have the virus or not. Again, this is all an effort to identify early. It's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. There will be infections on every campus. Question is, can we identify these infections early, isolate, quarantine, contain, trace, and treat so that we do not have an outbreak and we maintain a safe environment? And also the importance of isolation. Isolation being once a student has been tested positive, or anybody, they get put in isolation until it passes, or they get treated. Quarantine when they think they've been exposed and they self-isolate. So we talked earlier about that hope for the vaccine. Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates are cautiously optimistic we should have a safe vaccine by January, but they've also said that by the time we have to produce 100 million plus doses and distribute it around the United States, it could be about this time next year when we're getting to a place where we're kind of, I suppose for lack of a better way to put it, getting out of the woods with this and starting looking towards the fall of 2021 to get back to something post-COVID, pre-COVID, excuse me. We've also proposed an academic year for schools starting in January, a full year, January to July, revising the academic calendar, nixing spring break, but under the circumstances, understandable. The requirement of masks. We all know how important it is to wear a mask to prevent spreading the virus, but also getting the virus. And also the ability to, we kind of took this from the medical community. We're not expecting food service workers or staff on campuses to have all the PPE and as much of this protective gear, but certainly at minimum masks. But the importance of maybe putting a picture around a person's neck so we can be a little more personable during this time of social distancing, mask wearing, and so forth. It really helps add a nice dimension to the interconnectedness of students, but also with staff. Hand washing, sanitation stations, physical distancing, and reminders to do so. It's easy to forget. Well-intentioned people can forget to just put their mask on. So to have these reminders, wash hands, stay 6 feet apart, very helpful. We've all seen the screening and the temperature taking and the importance of that, and also the importance of collaborating with local health officials. And I think Dan's going to talk to that in terms of how dialed in he is and their school is to Vermont health officials and people in the local community as it relates to what they can do on campus, what they will do, when they'll do it, and then how they'll communicate back and forth. The importance of daily self-reporting. Students, this could be a little sticker that goes on the inside of the doors of most of the students' residences, those that live there. Just reminders to self-report on a daily basis. And again, Dan's going to talk about this too. We proposed a move-in, a 14-day quarantine, and then start classes. Middlebury has taken it a couple of steps even higher than this, so we're excited to have Dan share that with everybody. And the high flex course model, and I think this has become more universal in just about every conversation we've heard, where students are able to not only be in the classroom, or those students that are able to be in the classroom depending on capacity and those to choose to come back, but also at the same time, in real time, even with live classes, being able to take that same class online. This is critically important not only for a student who may not return to campus, but wants to continue their education on campus. Maybe a student that has to get staggered in and out of a classroom because of the capacity or the reduced capacity of the classroom. Clearly, this is critical if a student goes into isolation. The student could be asymptomatic, but they could stay in isolation for a couple of weeks, and this can permit that student to continue with their classes without skipping a beat, and those that go into quarantine as well. And then, of course, utilizing these platforms, these new, well, they're not new, well, they're new, and I think in terms of how universally used on a daily basis they are now, the Zoom, the Google Meets, the Microsoft Teams, and the others. But it's kind of a new face-to-face. It's not the same as being across the table from somebody, but it certainly is better than, you know, being masks at 6 feet apart trying to get to know somebody. So the ability to connect with classmates, whether it's a work group or just a regular connection to get to know people from across different backgrounds and whether you live on or off campus. HVAC, filtration, more fresh air, improving the filtration, HEPA filters, and so forth is critical. And the whole international student, I'm not sure if it's a morass, but we've seen some dramatic swings between restricted travel and then some of the latest in terms of whether students are going to have to come to campus to face or not. Seems like in a recent article just of today and yesterday, they seem to be backing off of that threat. So the ability to continue to have international students be connected online is unbelievably important. And again, as a consultant, as a planner, we bring all these various elements together. We call it, almost a Rubik's Cube of variables to solve the problems and work closely with our clients, and something we can do quickly for the fall and or for January. So here, what I'd like to do is pass the control over to Dan. And Dan, tell us what you're doing at Middlebury about the reopening plan, the quarantines, and your unique approach to dining.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Alec. Welcome, everyone. So just a little bit about Middlebury College. We are a small liberal arts college in mid-Vermont, Middlebury, Vermont, roughly 2,500 students. We have a robust language program. In turn, we have a lot of students from, Europe and international locations. So this plan that I'm going to go through was developed by our whole health department team and the college. So first thing we're going to ask the students is to quarantine at home prior to coming to campus for 14 days. And hopefully they'll do that. We understand that some won't, but we're certainly going to ask them that. And we're also going to ask them to sign a health pledge stating that they're going to follow all the guidelines and the rules that Middlebury provides. Once they come to campus on there's going to be 3 move-in days. So there'll be 3 different times in which they'll be moving in to campus. Oops, sorry, I just advanced there. So we are going to ask the students we're going to test the students as soon as they arrive on campus. So they'll get their room assignments. Yeah, I can't move David for some reason. Okay. They'll get room assignments and we will test them as soon as they arrive on campus. Once they are tested, they will quarantine in their room for 24 hours or until the results of those tests, we have the results of those tests. We will be feeding the students in their room, so they will have to remain in their room until we have the results of the test. Once we get the results, and folks are negative, the negative folks will be quarantined to the campus. The students that are test positive will be put into a quarantine area, isolated from the rest of the student body, and we will retest until they can join the rest of the campus.
So Dan, let me just ask for clarification. So if they test negative, they're quarantined to the campus, which they can freely move to classroom buildings, student centers, rec centers, anything on campus and residences, but they just can't physically leave the campus. Is that correct?
That is correct. They cannot leave the campus, and that will be a part of the health pledge. So they won't be able to go into town. They won't be able to go to the post office, any of that nature. So they have to remain on campus during that 14-day quarantine time period.
Thank you.
So our class schedule has changed, and we are bringing students back early, and they will be leaving campus the Friday before Thanksgiving. I think a lot of schools are doing this. We are doing the same. There will be, after Thanksgiving, there will be a week of online classes and then finals. So not only Middlebury Dining, but the entire school is taking a 3-phase approach to opening. Phase 1, we are calling the campus quarantine phase, and dining is a part of this, obviously. Phase 2 is called the stabilizing safely phase, and phase 3 is called the new normal. All right. So phase one, dining, our rules have changed quite a bit. Middlebury dining is, for our students, it's pretty unique. All of our students are on unlimited meal plans. They can come to, we have 3 dining halls on site. They can go in each dining hall multiple times a day. They can go, if they don't like something in one dining hall, they can go to another dining hall. They can basically go in and out of the dining halls as much as they want. In phase one, which will be at least the first 2 weeks of school, and the earliest we can be out of phase one will be September 14th. They will not be allowed to do that. They will be assigned a dining hall. We will have a lot of different rules in place. All prepackaged carry out. There will be no seating in the dining hall. There will be only one-way traffic throughout the dining hall. So they'll go in one door, go through the lines, come out the other door. We will be serving the food. So there won't be any students self-serve bars at all. All of our items will be on compostable plates and silverware. So it will be all to go, no in-house seating. As I said, we have 3 different dining halls on campus, and each dining hall is a little unique, and they will all be following the same protocols. Typically during a regular semester, all 3 dining halls would have a different menu, but during this period of time, they are all going to have the same menu to make sure people don't.
So, hey, Dan, just out of curiosity, what are those students planning on the roof of Atwater?
Herbs, basically. So yeah, Atwater is a pretty unique dining hall, and it's a beautiful location with beautiful windows. And the roof is a green roof that has a different variety of flowers and herbs on it.
And do you use
Yeah.
those herbs in your dining?
Yes, we do.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Oops. So phase 2, and again, we're working with the local Board of Health on all 3 of these phases, but phase 2, we're lightening up the restrictions a little bit. We will have some self-service and some seating available throughout phase 2. Most of the self-service will be like Pepsi, where they're really not physically touching anything. They're taking a compostable cup and pressing, the levers. So there's really not much touching. The seating will be determined by the governor's rules and guidelines. So we're working with the governor and the local health authorities on how much seating we can have in each dining hall. We will have outside seating as well under tents. Each dining hall has a nice patio, and there will be some outside seating. We are going to start using reusable carryout containers in phase 2. So we're going to be slowly removing, getting away from the compostable. We are, sustainability is a big part of what we do at Middlebury in Vermont. And so we will be starting to use reusable carryout containers in phase 2. Phase 3 will be the new normal. So again, we'll continue to lighten up the restrictions. There will be hopefully additional seating in the dining hall, and whatever the governor guidelines are, we will certainly follow those, but we are hoping to be a little more restricted, less restrictive, and be able to have students have more self-serve bars and things of that nature. Now, the students are getting tested, and they're getting tested when they first arrive. They're getting tested 7 days after as well. So hopefully we'll have a good sense of, how many students are positive and negative, and we can start lightening it up on phase 3. We're not actually sure if we'll ever get to phase 3, but we're hopeful. And again, that's going to be our new normal. We do have dining tents coming, and will be available starting as soon as we bring students on campus. Masks will be required at all times at Middlebury. So not only in the dining hall, but in the classrooms and throughout campus, masks will be required. We are, because of the size of our dining halls, we are going to be offering board replacement at various locations throughout campus. Our science building is one of the busier buildings on campus. We will be offering some board replacement meals there, and we have a food truck. So we will be offering board replacement meals throughout campus with our food truck as well. We're just trying to get some of the congestion out of the dining hall because it does become very congested during the school year. As I said, all of our students are on an unlimited meal plan. So we're going to maintain that so they can come to the dining hall as much as they want, but they have to follow the protocol each and every time they come. So there will be a single file line, and I can imagine that the line is going to be fairly long at times. So students, if they want a second helping or, come early and then come late, they will still be allowed to do that, but they have to follow our protocols. We do have an online ordering system for our retail operations. It's NutriSlice, where students will be able to order online and then just pick up their food at various locations. Grill Me is a student-run organization where students actually deliver food throughout campus. We are not sure when we're going to be able to start that, only because of the quarantine rules for students. We're hopeful it will be able to start in phase 2, but we are not exactly sure that will happen yet. I think it will depend on how we move through the phases and how well we do with phase 1. But it's a pretty unique service. It was founded by a Middlebury grad in 2016, and he has various campuses throughout New England using his service. So it's pretty unique. That's all I have. But I think Middlebury is pretty poised, and we're excited to bring students back to campus. There'll be a lot of rules, and I think the most challenging part of it for us, I think, is going to be how we're going to social distance students within the dining halls. Our dining halls are not exactly large spaces for the amount of volume that we have and the amount of students that we have. So that's going to be a challenge, but we're up for the task for sure.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Dan. That was tremendous and certainly very comprehensive, extremely well thought out in terms of the quarantine, the testing, and the kind of immersion back into student life with your different phases of your dining plans and so forth. I know you had talked before about how social dining is and how central that is to just the college experience, or has been pre-COVID. And I think that's something that everybody wants to get back to at some point, we hope, in the future. So let me ask you this, Dan, with what's, hold on a second. Let me just, sorry about that, folks. It seems as though things are changing almost every day with what schools are going to be doing for the fall, and kind of the sands seem to be shifting a little bit around the country in terms of different parts of the country and the virus. Has anything changed with Middlebury and what they plan on doing and when they plan on doing it this fall, or does everything still look pretty solid for you?
Fortunately for Vermont, the cases have been pretty low, so we have not changed anything. We're anxious to see how many students actually will come on campus. That may change if we have more than anticipated. That may change some of the planning, the dining planning in particular.
Right.
But as of right now, knock on wood, we have not really changed our dates, and everything is moving forward as planned. So
that's great. Well, again, Dan, thank you so much for doing this with us and sharing your strategies, your solutions. That's been a guiding principle to what we do when we produce these webinars, is to really put out solutions that different campuses are implementing, so that maybe those can be of value to other campuses that are contemplating what to do and how to do it. Again, if anybody would have a question, certainly you could submit that to us in an email. There is a Q&A button if we get a question on that, we'll respond to it either before the end or right after we conclude. Also, we will send out a link to a recording of this webinar to all of you that have attended, and thank you all for attending today. So Dan, thank you, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.